Hey, welcome back, folks. Financial Issues. Happy to have you all in the chat this morning. I see some wonderfully kind words in there. We'll try to get to those later on in the show, but thankful for each of you this morning. All right, folks, I have a special treat for you here. Special guest with me here, Dr. Bonner Cohen. Dr. Cohen is a senior fellow at the National Center for Public Policy Research. He has a special concentration on energy, natural resources, international relations, things like that. He's an accomplished author. He's a accomplished communicator. He's got articles that have been published by the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Investors Business Daily, New York Post, Washington Times, Philadelphia Inquirer, just to name a few. Dr. Cohen, we're so grateful to have you on the show, brother. Thanks for joining me today.
Well, I'm very grateful to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's start off here. I'd love for you to share your expertise with our audience concerning Trump's big, beautiful bill, particularly when it comes to energy. That's kind of the main thrust of what our conversation will be. But before we get to that, Dr. Cohen, rather than getting into the specifics of the energy stuff for just a moment, let's talk generally here. Give us your opinion on the big, beautiful bill in general. What about it pleases you, and what about it might be a little problematic to you?
I'm sure our viewers have heard the term landmark legislation, and that's something that Washington politicals like to throw around every time something gets passed. Usually you can dismiss that. Not in this case. This bill has now law, has very far-reaching implications for the United States domestically and for the position of the United States in the world. Why? Because the provisions in the bill that deal with energy, and these are key provisions along with the tax breaks, point in an entirely different direction from which this country had been headed, actually going all the way back to the administration of Obama, not to mention the Biden administration. We were then told that we were on our way to a green or clean energy transition. Well, to a certain extent, they were right. Yet we were transitioning from reliable, affordable energy, which the United States has in abundance, to energy that is intermittent, a polite term for unreliable, propped up by taxpayers' subsidies and woefully inadequate to support a sophisticated economy such as the United States has. Well, the Trump administration and those in Congress who voted for the bill are now signaling, as they have been doing actually ever since January the 20th, that we're heading in an entirely different direction. We are re-emphasizing the use of fossil fuels, that is natural gas, coal, oil, to help power our economy. They are also taking a long and serious and long overdue look at nuclear energy, as well as something that's also very intriguing, geothermal energy, while at the same time gradually phasing out the goodies that are politely referred to as tax credits or subsidies for green energy. We have been subsidizing wind power in this country at the federal level since 1978. Now, an industry that cannot stand on its own 2 feet after 47 years is an industry that's really not worth our time and effort, much less the hard-earned money of American taxpayers. So those tax credits are being phased out, along with the tax credits for solar energy, which also have been in place in various forms since the late 1970s. Again, it's another industry that can't stand on its own 2 feet, is intermittent, is land intensive. So this is monumental because the United States is now playing to its strength, because we are the world's largest producer of oil and of natural gas. We also have abundant coal reserves, and we can use that to leverage our position in the world, specifically vis-a-vis our most serious international competitor, which is far and away the People's Republic of China.
Dr. Cohen, that's wonderful to hear all of that. A couple things came to mind. First, Trump's goal to drill, baby, drill seems to be right in line with this. And then, secondly, there, just such a good reminder of the fact that our country has had the capability to be able to be on the forefront when it comes to this stuff. And we've kind of been undercut at the legs by certain administrations, as you mentioned, the Biden administration, the Obama administration, who basically cut out something that is really, really good for us, for the American people. They just decided to avoid it, doing all the green energy stuff. So it seems to me
it was
like
a form of unilateral economic and, I might add, geopolitical disarmament that put us in no small way increasingly dependent on China for our energy, because China has a stranglehold on the supply chain that stands behind wind and solar power, as well as the batteries that are used to power electric vehicles. So what we were doing was foregoing our use of our assets and putting ourselves at the not so tender mercies of our greatest geopolitical rival. It was lunacy, and we can be very thankful that the Trump administration is moving us away from that.
I completely agree with you there. So, Dr. Cohen, you had mentioned quickly the possibility of nuclear energy as something that can be used also. Could you speak to that for just a moment? Is there any chance?
Yes. There is no doubt that nuclear energy is in the early phases of a renaissance in the U.S. The most recent, since the late 1970s, we've opened up a grand total of one new nuclear power facility. It's in my home state of Georgia. Came in way over budget and way late, but nonetheless is operating extremely well now. And I think you're going to see that replicated across the country. A key to understanding that is, first of all, reforms within the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, which is the regulatory branch that oversees nuclear energy. Trump has made some long overdue personnel changes there and has given these people marching orders to approve the construction and permitting, but the permitting and construction of new nuclear power plants. Now, this is not going to be an exercise in instant gratification. These things take time, a long time. So we're not going to see this part of the Renaissance really come to the fore for another 8 or 10 years. Nevertheless, that's a few blinks of an eye for those of us who've been around for a while, and we understand that that's really a short-term gain for the United States with long-term implications, because what we need in a world being increasingly driven by soaring demand for artificial intelligence, hence the proliferation of all these data centers around the country, we need that. And it requires an enormous amount of electricity. Now, that electricity is not going to come from wind turbines and solar panels. It's going to come from natural gas. It's going to come from hydroelectric power where applicable, because that's 24/7, 365, like natural gas. It's going to increasingly come from nuclear power once it comes online, and a kind of a latecomer to all of this, but very promising, geothermal power. That's our energy future. Our energy future is not solar panels, windmills, and everything else for which the American taxpayer, long-suffering American taxpayer, has been bludgeoned for the past several years. So we can certainly welcome the phase out of those subsidies and recognize that it's vitally important that we get serious about this, because our own prosperity, as well as our position around the world, is dependent upon the United States being all but autonomous in energy, and that is not a pipe dream. That is quickly becoming a reality.
Dr. Cohen, our founder, Dan Celia, who has since passed and is now with the Lord in glory, used to say when speaking to these things, talking about what you mentioned, the lunacy of relying upon the sun and wind for your power, saying sometimes the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. So then what? right? So
That's
it
right.
really is
Then
lunacy.
you have to have backup. You have to
Yeah.
have batteries. Well, surprise, surprise. Guess who supplies the ingredients, the raw materials that go into the batteries that serve not only to power EVs, but also the backup batteries for wind turbines and solar powers? Answer: the People's Republic of China.
Yep.
I'll say this: the Chinese made a very good short-term bet on green energy. Not that they were foolish enough to make themselves dependent on green energy, but they were delighted to supply us, and that means also the Europeans and anybody else foolish enough to go along with this, with green energy. It was a good short-term bet. One of the things that a big, beautiful bill does is it shows the Chinese, well, maybe this wasn't the great long-term bet that you thought it was, because you now have a virtually monopolistic control over green energy, when green energy, as normally understood, it turns out it's not the future at all.
Dr. Cohen, I appreciate your words so much, brother. Really quickly here, how can our listeners learn more about the work that you do and follow the work that you do?
Okay, please check us out at the National Center for Public Policy Research's website, nationalcenter.org. You will find a lot of very fascinating material there, and it will give you the kind of intellectual ammunition that you need to combat naysayers of various stripes. So go out and arm yourself and enjoy what you read.
That's awesome. Folks, again, Dr. Bonner Cohen, Senior Fellow at the National Center for Public Policy Research. Dr. Cohen, it was a pleasure to speak with you today. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope we get to do this again.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks.